If you've been following my page for a while, you understand that I make videos even when it's uncomfortable. I feel this is important right now. It's just shortly at about 72 hours since I found out that my eldest child is deceased. My youngest son is also deceased for, 30 years. Thinking of dates, 32 years. Anyway, this isn't my first rodeo. I think it's important for people to see what grief looks like. I'm really grateful for the people who the last 72 hours have witnessed in their way my grief. Grief is not pretty. It often triggers a lot of old thoughts and memories. Because I've been alone, just with the animals and me, I've been able to express my grief however I felt in the moment. I've screamed. I've raged. I've stomped my feet and thrown myself on the floor. I've banged my hand on the railing. I've growled. I've been sick to my stomach. I've cried uncontrollably. And there is no shame in that. I'm very grateful that I no longer listen to others of how I am supposed to behave for acceptance. My son's name was Brendan Montgomery McKenna. He was born in Portland after a wild ride. He was delivered literally 30 minutes after I got to the hospital. And that was beginning of him being in a hurry and having his own sense of timing. I don't know how it'll look on his death certificate, but this is the way I think it should read. Cause of death: bullying, shame, guilt, rejection, abandonment, alone, scared, hurt. Method? Heroin overdose. Um, I spoke to my son in a lengthy conversation 10 days before he expired. I knew he had relapsed. I was really trying not to have anticipatory grief. But I have lived with anticipatory grief for nearly 25 years. My son was much more than an addict. That was his illness, but it wasn't him. There's a lot to his story that people don't know, that most people don't know. I always chose to see the good. I'm very aware of his less than stellar moments. And we have had our moments. So anyway, my firstborn child has died of a heroin overdose. And he is so much more than a statistic. And I'm a statistic that isn't even a statistic because I am dealing with all of this after being polydrugged for most of those 25 years. And I'm not on anything right now, and I am grieving. I am experiencing emotions. I'm not able to do much of anything right now other than breathe and answer nature's call. I keep thinking I need to change clothes. I literally still have on my Mother's Day dress from 3 days ago. And it's just too much effort to do that. It's more important to cry, make plans, deal with the stupid, crazy things you have to deal with when someone dies, especially not just from normal natural causes in a hospital or something. It's more important to look through pictures, which I have lots. He was such a beautiful child. This man, he loved all the kids, and my Brendan loved him. That gentleman, he saw a great-grandson tie my youngest son, and it broke him. And I'm glad my son is with him now. Grief is how I got medicated first. You need to take 5 milligrams of Valium for the next few days so you can sleep. I lost a lot of years to medications. I'm going to lose maybe a few weeks to grief. And I may lose a few weeks to where I don't shower, or I don't do all the things I normally do, or I look really tired and don't sleep well, or I go try to socialize and I start crying and have to come home. That doesn't need to be medicated. That needs to be lived. So I just, being the real person that I am, I made a video on the 10th celebrating that being off opiates all this time. And that I wasn't addicted, but I was dependent. And that here I am today. My son, he was addicted. He was. But that's not all he was. And there's no shame in that. So if you have a child that has struggles with drugs or alcohol or gambling or sex or anything, and whether they're addicted or dependent, you figure out how to separate that from the good. Please, you love that child no matter what. No matter what. You don't have to accept the bad behaviors, and trust me, I had many conversations with my son about what was acceptable and wasn't acceptable. But you don't have to demoralize them and shame them and reject them and abandon them and make them out to be the bad guy. Because they're just sick. They have an illness. And that shouldn't be a crime. It should be something we do better than we do at. Because society is really failing at this. And a lot of people are dying like my son. Alone. Feeling very, very, very rejected. So, I want to thank everybody. I'm really overwhelmed. with the kindness that has been shown me in these last couple days and longer. It's very humbling to think that there's a lot of people that are struggling, and yet you all decide to help me so that I can try to do this right. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. It's going to be a scary time. But sometimes you just have to do things, and this is all I can do anymore for my son, is be real, share about him, and try to think of what would make him smile. So I hope whatever I do over the next month, wherever he is, that it makes him smile. And I just thank all of you. And if you hurt and you struggle and it looks like this, that's not being sick. That's being real. And society doesn't like to look at it. Nobody wants to see pain like this raw pain. They don't want to see it. It's uncomfortable. But it doesn't need to be medicated. It needs to be given space. It needs to be given acceptance and caring, even if you don't understand. So I just felt like I needed to be real about pain and grief, and that it's okay. Anyway, thank you all. I really do thank you all. I hope you know that. All right. My next time you see me, I promise I won't look like this. And it's not like I'm not trying to get your sympathy. I'm trying to point out that emotions are real, and it's okay to have them, and it's okay to express them. It really is. You can be sad. You can even scream and yell. It's okay. Doesn't mean you're crazy. Just means you hurt.